or welcome. My name is Shannon Sims. I'm going to help you through opening your hips today in our yin class. I know a lot of us are sitting right now, and as we sit more, we shorten a lot of things. We shorten our hamstrings, we shorten our IT, all of these things as we start to move around and start to walk and do other activities can be pretty painful. It also compresses into our lower back. So all the exercises that we're going to do today, or all the yin poses that we're going to do today, are going to help to relieve pressure around the hips, the low back, and we're going to touch into the shoulders a little bit. So I want you to, if you can, you might not have a bolster, but you might have a couch pillow, you might have some pillows, maybe even more than one upstairs that you can use. So if you're watching this by video, pause the video. If you have blocks, if you don't have blocks, you can use boxes, you can use blankets, you can use actually even rolled up hand towels that are very beneficial that you can use. I also have a blanket. The blanket will be helpful in a couple of the poses that we're coming in, not necessary if you don't want to use it, but a lot of these props, I'm going to show you how you can use them to make your practice a little bit more effective. Now, our yin practice is a practice where we hold the poses for a lot longer. So we're not going to be moving out of these in and out very quickly. We're going to go fairly slowly. But I want you to just start off kind of coming into a comfortable seated pose. On the blanket is always most comfortable for me. That way my knees can be slightly tilted downward. Dress appropriately. So have something that might be able to move if you get cold easy. Bundle up if you get hot easy. Clothes that you can, kind of strip away a little bit. Sometimes as we deepen our stretch, we release a lot inside that can cause and generate some heat. It can also do the opposite. Sometimes it causes us to really get a little bit colder. So, every body is very different, so there isn't necessarily a right and a wrong. There's just how it feels for you. So if you can, sit quietly and maybe start to feel your spine. Notice if you feel your lower back. If you do, see if you can kind of pull your belly in and put your lower back in neutral. Allow your shoulders to relax. Your palms might be up or down, and maybe just drawing awareness to what they are. If your palms are facing up, a lot of times that shows that I am needing something. I'm receptive to gain something new, insight, interaction. If your palms are down, you might feel a little ungrounded and need more grounding or stabilizing. And just being aware of what your palms, or kind of the direction that it feels most comfortable, and do that. So start to be aware of what is comfortable in your body. And that's putting out the idea that I have to come into a pose a certain way, and starting to recognize more what the body is saying rather than what the mind is saying. And that really is always the best, most empowering classes are the ones where I'm tapping into what the body says rather than what the mind says. And just start to find a gentle flowing breath in and out of your body. And we want to keep a breath that goes in through the nose, out through the nose, but not one that you have to work on. Not necessarily a victorious or ujjayi breath where you're making a lot of noise. Just a breath that you can connect to And this breath is here to remind you, if you're holding your breath, you might be pushing yourself a little too much. If you're, not breathing or focusing, maybe your inhale is a little bit more, maybe your exhale is a little bit more, noticing and recognizing what you're doing inside your pose to cause that kind of a reaction in your body. And the more we relax, the deeper our yin practice is. And so just relaxing today and allowing what the hips are allowing. Noticing that you might be less flexible than you normally are if you're sitting more than you normally do. That things change in our body every day. And not to judge or compartmentalize those as good or bad. And then maybe setting an intent or bringing your awareness to what you're hoping to gain out of this practice today. When you're ready, bring your chin in towards your chest. Crown of the head is stretching forward. We're going to stretch out the neck. So take your ear over towards the right side. And just let your right ear and right shoulder kind of pull down a little bit more, noticing this more open space on the left. And if you can, reach your palm out and just move your palm a little forward and back, maybe turning the thumb up and down. Now bringing that left arm behind your back and just let your left hand crest right into or behind the back of the right butt cheek. So I'm not keeping it high up towards the back. I'm pulling the hand down and allowing the elbow to relax a little more. If this is comfortable, you can take your right hand and just rest it gently on your head. Close your eyes as you do this. You'll tap in a little bit more if you're pushing with the hand, or you're just allowing the weight of the hand to guide the ear over a little more. If you can't, allow the hand to come to the back of the head and just guide your chin towards the collarbone on the right side. When you're ready, ear comes back over the right shoulder, and take your right fingers to your right temple and guide your head back up into the center. And then just notice how the shoulders feel. Maybe roll the shoulders out a little bit. Notice maybe a little bit more spaciousness or even sometimes a tightness on the left side. We're going to take that left ear over towards the left shoulder and allow it to go slowly. And maybe start to guide that right fingertips over and just let them hang in space, turning the thumb a little up and down. And notice how too, sometimes you feel connection into the arm as you do that. If it causes you pain, bend the elbow. See if you can bring that right hand and let the right hand come behind the left bottom or left butt cheek. Keep allowing the left ear and the left shoulder to find each other, and maybe the left hand just rests right on top of the head towards that right side. And maybe closing the eyes, connecting to the amount of pressure that you're putting here. Maybe walking the hand towards the back of the head, guiding your chin towards the collarbone on the left. And allowing the right shoulder and right ear to get a little further away from each other. And then taking the ear and the shoulder on the left side a little closer together. Take your hand towards the left side of your face and just push your head back up. Make your hands come forward, palms face up, chin in towards your chest, crown of the head forward, and just start to move the head in circles. And just do a few circles, one direction, and then going the other direction. And then on your inhale, coming up. Exhale, rounding your back a little bit, and let's walk it forward. So I want you to walk the hands down, maybe the elbows come down, and just find this forward fold. If you want to use your blocks, you can use your blocks, but just allow your back to round and kind of open here. Let the chin come towards the chest, let the crown of the head come down. We're going to stay here for about 30 seconds. So not a long hold, but start to notice where in your lower spine, maybe the mid-spine, maybe around the neck, where you're feeling the most amount of tension. And just try to allow your body to relax. If your elbows are able to come out a little bit further, allow them to come down. Maybe the forehead and the forearm find each other. Tapping into your breath. See if your breath is a little balanced. Inhale and the exhale should be right about the same. We're going to inhale slowly, start to come back up. Chin in towards the chest and just gaze up. All right. So we're going to start off in a partial frog pose. We're going to start off in, actually, you know what? We're going to come on half dragonfly. So half dragonfly, we're going to take this left knee out first. Now, there's a couple of different ways you can do the dragonfly. You can start to bring the foot in so the left toes are actually facing over towards the right. Or you can straighten out the leg and bring this leg a little further away. This is going to engage the ankle too, but for some people this causes a lot of strain in the ankle and the knee. If you're feeling strain in the knee, instead of taking the block directly under the knee itself, just prop right towards the lower part of the left thigh. And as you extend forward, pull your chest forward first, and then when you know you can't get any further, allow yourself to come down. Now, before you settle in totally, move your hips out a little bit. Let's inhale for a moment. Take your hands around the right thigh and rotate the thigh out. And you can do the same on that left thigh, kind of rotating it out. Now extend the chest and just see, is anything different? Has anything changed? If you know you're somebody that can't come down all the way, you can grab onto your bolster. Your bolster can prop you up like this. You can prop yourself up like this. And again, if you don't need that block, you don't have to use that block. This knee doesn't have to be down. This is only if it's causing you pain. So I want to come into sensation. I want to feel sensation, but I don't want to feel pain. So as I'm here, I'm going to start to extend my chest forward, round your back, and we're going to stay here for about 1.5 minutes. So I want to open the hip just a little bit before we come into our frog pose. So allowing your chest to come down. I did a lot of leg work yesterday, and when you do different exercises, if you're a runner, if you're somebody that does a lot of jumping or really any, vigorous movement, we build carbon in the body, and these stretches change. So maybe the first 20 seconds, it feels a little intense. It feels like things are really tight. And then all of a sudden you find more space. Now you might notice that you're leaning to more of one direction, and that's okay. You can lean into that. Your yin pose is a little bit more relaxed than a normal yoga practice. Wherever your body is guiding you to go with it. I kind of equate it to turning in the direction of a skid. So, if you're driving in the snow, and instead of turning away from the skid, you're kind of letting the skid lead you. So eventually what happens is the car straightens out again. Well, the body does the same thing. But if I'm pulling against that pressure, then the body tightens up a little bit more, and it doesn't allow for those deeper stretches. So it's okay if I'm being kind of guided over towards that left side. And just allow yourself to come down as deeply and far as you can, allowing the body to relax here. The shoulders will relax, and just allow yourself to breathe. And notice where you feel this. And where you feel it on one side isn't necessarily where you're going to feel it on another. And your yin practice is a marvelous opportunity for you to kind of figure out the inner workings of your body. Our body is crossed. Our body likes X's. So a lot of times where I feel something on one hip, I might actually feel something in an opposite shoulder or an opposite leg. So you can start to figure out some of the X patterns in your own body. We're going to stay here for about just another 10 seconds, maybe 2 really good breaths. And on your exhales, think about sinking down just a little deeper in your pose. Again, trying to find that place of sensation, but not pain. Now, in your next inhalation, slowly start to come up. And I'm going to bring that knee with me. And as I bring the knee with me, just extend the leg out. Maybe the hand comes to the inside of the thigh, and see if you can start moving the leg a little bit. And then you might take it in and lean back away from this stretch. This is going to give you a little bit of a release in your lower back. Hands are going to face out towards the sides, and just move your body a little side to side. All right, so I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. Now, if you took the foot so the toes face forward, I would do the same on this side as well. Again, you might find, boy, I needed a block on that left side, don't need it on the right, so don't give it on the right. Listen to what the body is calling for. As you exhale, slowly start to extend the chest forward and just see what's available. We're going to come down twice and just start to kind of tap into the natural pulls of the body. You might feel even the left leg kind of pulling down. You might notice that your toes go out. Mine pull a little bit more inward, so I have a lot more pressure on this inside of my knee rather than the outside. Really depends on how your body is situated. On this next one, let's just slowly come up and see, can I move the thigh out a little bit? So I'm going to grab it with my hands and just kind of turn my leg out. I'm going to do the same on the right side, kind of turning the thigh out. Start to extend yourself forward. Now, if you're feeling pain in the knee, you can rotate the calf. Actually take the calf, the thumbs down towards the meaty part of the calf, and pull the calf forward towards the shin. And the leg kind of goes the opposite direction. So I'm pulling the thigh in, and I'm going to open this space so it's not kind of hitting into the knee. If you're not, I like to roll the thigh back, and then still you can kind of roll the calf forward, and you might feel a little bit less tension. And you can kind of play with where you roll the calf and the thigh. Depends on what part of your knee you feel pain. And if you're still feeling pain, if you take a simple washcloth, place that right behind the back of your knee, a lot of times that'll take some of that discomfort off, because we're not allowing the bones to kind of grind into each other. Now, as I'm here, I'm going to extend my chest forward and start to lower the body down. And recognize where you feel this. Lot on the inner groin, inner thigh. And if my inner thighs, the groin is really tight, that a lot of times will cause a lot of problems when we come into our hip openers. Groin tightness creates hip tightness. And so sometimes by opening the groin first, we can really open the hips a lot more. And we're only going to stay here for about another minute. So see if you can come down maybe a little lower. Notice if the body is starting to pull a little bit more towards one direction than the other, not unusual. And just feeling the sensations of the body, noticing if there's any X patterns in the body. Notice if you're honoring what is going on in your body today. And the word honoring means I'm not trying to push myself to where I was 2 weeks ago, and being aware of what my body is asking for today. And so often we do that, we get kind of stuck in a little bit of a pattern, and we forget that our body is requesting different things every day. And that's tapping into the intelligence of the body rather than what the mind thinks it needs. Because the body is amazingly intelligent, we just don't listen to it very well. We think a lot, and we do most of the talking, and sometimes by doing a lot of the talking, we're not listening. And so this practice is about listening to the intelligence of the body, and it will always lead you in the right direction. It will tell you when you need to rest, what you need to do, when you need to back off, when you need to push further. So in your inhale, let's slowly start to come up. I'm going to grab onto the right knee, bring it up a little bit, and then let that leg come out, and just move the leg a little forward and back. And then see if you can guide the left leg up a little. Take the hands out and just windshield wiper the knees. And you'll notice my heels are pretty far away. So they're further than hip distance apart. This allows for the back to loosen. All right, we're gonna come onto our back. And I'm gonna have you grab onto your block. Now, I like a block, and I'm gonna make what's called a little wall, and I'm gonna come up on the wall. And one of the reasons I do this is I'm gonna open the hip flexor on the right side. Now you can use a blanket, you can have something underneath the back of your head, but you're gonna notice as I lift up, I'm gonna make sure that the block comes right at the base of my tailbone. So when I come up, no part of my spine is actually touching the blocks. Now I'm gonna hold on, and actually I'm gonna take my blanket because that's gonna be most comfortable. So I'm gonna grab onto the right leg, and I'm gonna extend the left leg. And I'm gonna hold on to the right leg. Now you can hold it here, you can hold it behind the back of the right thigh. We're here for 2 minutes, so I'm not gonna be here too long. I want to allow this hip flexor to just open enough. And if you want, you can take the left heel a little bit more over towards the left side and even open the left hip a little bit more. You have the option to bend that knee a little bit. And if you feel like you're falling off, you're just going to move your bottom a little bit more on the block. But again, you don't want the blocks to touch your spine. Now, you can pull your knee in towards the center of your chest. If you want to open your hips a little bit more, this right knee can work over towards the right side. And so all of these options are available, and you just kind of have to tap in and see what is most comfortable for my body. And so I like to close my eyes, and I like to kind of hug my leg. I'm going to put a micro bend in my left knee and allow the knee to come over towards the left side. But I'm not going to push the thigh down. I'm going to allow the thigh to open. So this is enough pressure for my left hip flexor. And I'm actually feeling a fair amount of pressure, but it's not painful. So I know I can live here. Now, if you're somebody that is a little bit more flexible, you might be able to grab onto the outside of the right leg and come into what looks like a half-heavy baby. And this is just going to allow for a little bit more mobility in the hips. Now, all of our yin poses, the minimum we really want to hold something is about 1.5 minutes. If there's a particular pose that you really are enjoying, pause the video. Stay there longer. You know, a minute and a half is your minimum for a pose. Now, some of these we are going to hold longer today, but some of the other ones, I just want to kind of open the hips a little. So in this one, we have about 30 more seconds. And this is also allowing some blood to rush up into the heart, into the shoulders. Again, I'm not trying to stifle the neck, so I'm keeping my neck long. If you feel your chin is down, you probably don't need anything underneath your head. I have a really long neck, and so just a little bit of a prop makes a huge difference to me. Now this is that last few seconds. So I'm going to pull the knee down a little bit more, maybe something I feel a little bit more intensely. But again, I'm never in a position where I'm going into pain. And you can probably hear the water in the background. We have a really nice wet day. So doing this yin practice is a perfect time to do it when it's a little, you know, yucky out. And you can just kind of let the sounds of nature guide you into a deeper stretch. Now when you come out of these poses, really slowly allow the body to rebound. I'm going to slowly pull the left leg in, and I'm going to flutter the legs a little bit. So I'm going to kind of open the space around the knees, get the legs moving, maybe touch the toes down a little. If your lower back is hurting you, you can come off the blocks, ground to the back. We're not here too long, so I'm going to go right into the other side. So now this right hip flexor, I'm going to press that down first, and maybe just use some hand contact and kind of massage into the hip flexor. Rub both directions. Maybe even little figure eights around the hips. And finding how to comfortably hold the left leg. Now, if this is comfortable, I want you to stay here. You always have the option of bending that right knee, allowing the right toes to kind of angle out over towards the right side. Maybe the left knee is coming slightly towards the left, or again, you could find that half happy baby. I'm going to start here until my left hip opens up a little bit more and my half happy baby is more accessible. So you'll notice that within really about 20 seconds, your body drastically changes. And what was challenging 20 seconds ago is not challenging. So always going into the present moment of where your body is. And trying to relax in your pose. Notice when your muscles are tightened. And then seeing what is available. Maybe grabbing onto the foot, allowing the shoulders to open. Following your breath in your body. And just bring your general awareness to where you're feeling tightness, but also not focusing on just tightness, focusing on opening, where you feel a little bit more spacious. You know, in our Western culture, we, I think, find it easier to focus on our problems rather than everything that's going really good. You know, where am I really flexible? Where am I already really open? Where do I have no discomfort, no pain? And sometimes drawing your awareness there, and notice that that starts to expand. When I focus on what feels good, that starts to get wider and wider. And just staying here for a few more breaths. I'm going to start to bring the left knee down. And bring the knee back into the center of the chest, and then draw the right knee so it's facing back up towards the ceiling. And then slowly draw it back in. And then maybe just moving the legs up and down. Take both feet down and just pull the blocks apart and allow the lower back to rebound. Now, taking your blocks out towards the side, grabbing under your knees, rolling a little side to side. We're going to come into our happy baby. Now, your happy baby might be here. If you can, try to face your feet, so your feet are facing up towards the ceiling. Your lower back stays down and connected. Shoulders are down and relaxed. Now, if you have a deeper happy baby, you might grab onto the ankles. If your bottom lifts up, press your bottom down, take your hands back. You can even come into wider knees. This is okay. If you have a happy baby where your bottom can stay down, but you can grab onto your ankles, do that. And exert a little bit of pressure with the arms, maybe pulling the shoulders back a little, and then relax. Notice if you're in a position where you can let go a little bit. Breathe. Feel the parts of your body that are connected, and walk your attention through your body, feeling everything. Just connecting to what you feel. Now, with our hip practice, sometimes come emotions. And so if anything starts to come back into your memory, if fears, anxieties, stresses come into your space, it might manifest itself as a thought. It might just be a really uncomfortable feeling, sometimes tears. Recognize that those are emotions, and emotions are energy. And as energy leaves the body, it sometimes comes to the surface first. And so just allowing yourself to recognize that those are all things that are coming back to the body, back to your awareness. And not necessarily chasing those thoughts away, but being okay with recognizing them. Sometimes even the discomfort of them, knowing that you're in a safe space. And that it's okay to just watch your emotions, watch your feelings. And doing that without judgment. And so when you're ready, bring your heels back down. I'm going to bring the knees together. Start to move a little back and forth on your spine. We're going to come onto our belly. So I'm going to turn over. We're going to come into Sphinx pose. So in your Sphinx pose, your elbows are going to align with your shoulders. Now you can use blocks for your Sphinx too. And I'm going to show today how you can use blocks to deepen your Sphinx if you don't want to do a seal pose. So my elbows and shoulders are going to be aligned, and even sometimes we think our elbows are aligned, but I'm feeling I look like this, and it's putting this squeeze on the back of my shoulder blades, causes a lot of tension in the back of my neck. So it's okay to have your elbows a little bit in front of your shoulders, not so much if your elbows are behind your shoulders. So a little forward is okay. Think about lifting the belly button. And I want you to picture that your belly button has a string attached to it. And somebody is right in front of you pulling that string. So press into your pinky toes and start to draw the heels out towards the side. So the big toes might touch, or they at least are pointing towards each other. And this is called sickling the foot. I'm going to move this back a little. Sickling the foot. So I'm sickling the feet, and I'm going to pay attention to my belly. Now let that string pull your belly button forward, and lift it up a little bit, and let it pull forward a little bit more. Now, picture that string has gone to the bottom set of ribs, and it's pulling forward. And let it pull forward one more time. Now, right at the center of your chest, that string is pulling forward. Pull it forward, and let your shoulders kind of pull back. Now, this might be as far as I'm coming, and this might be enough. If it's too much, you can draw the shoulders down, let the head come down. If you want a little bit more, you can take your elbows underneath the blocks. My hips are still down, and I'm going to bring those elbows even just a little closer. And the hands can come together. And again, maybe play that out another moment. So the string is pulling the belly button forward, and then that string pulls the ribs forward. And you can notice how my body moves. Then that string pulls the top of the chest forward. Now from here, I can bring the elbows up onto the blocks, and I can take my hands into a prayer, and I can just, or into kind of a fist, and just allow my head to relax. Now what this does is it allows my head and my neck to relax, but I keep stretching into my lower and mid back. Now if you're not up this high, you can take the hands to your face. You can rest your head like this, wherever your head needs to be. Try to relax your body once you've done this. And just allow yourself to relax. If you're still not feeling much sensation, you can start to bring the feet up. And as you bring the feet up, the toes might touch, shoulders are slightly back. We're going to stay here for about 2 minutes. And just allowing yourself to relax, breathing. Honoring what your back is needing today. Notice if you're feeling this too much in the hamstrings, if you're not feeling enough in the lower back, maybe coming into the full version of seal. Seal version, my hands would be down and I would be pushing myself up. But again, I want to relax. Maybe let the head come down, maybe allow the body to relax a little bit. And starting to feel the pull a little bit more on the lower part of my back. So really connecting to the low back. When you're ready, start to bring the feet down. To come out of the pose, you're going to start to slowly move everything out. So letting the blocks come away from you and allow yourself to rebound by bringing the arms down. Maybe the forehead rests right on the forearms. Start to feel how the back rebounds. Now we're going to come in and just bend one knee, allowing that leg to come out towards the side. And allowing yourself to relax here. This is half frog. So this is a half frog pose. I'm going to move over a little bit. And this is allowing my back to rebound. Now your half frog can stay here. I'm going to show you a couple of different options for your half frog. Now if you have a pretty open half frog, you might twist your right hand, bring your shoulder down, and your right knee would be out if you're doing this, and allow your head to come down. So you can twist your body. You can also bring a block or a blanket underneath your head. And allow for a little twist in your spine. If you want a little bit more on your leg, one thing I like to do is either take a bolster or some blocks, and I'm going to build the leg up. So I'm going to take one of the blocks on the shin, and I take another block underneath the knee. Now, as I lower the body down, I'm going to feel a lot of opening on the inside of this groin. And if I want to add that twist, I can add the twist so I'm getting a little bit of the shoulder. Now, my right palm is going to face up, so my shoulder rotates down. And this is where, too, you can fold this blanket and allow your head to come down and just gazing over towards the side. Now, if your leg or your hip is starting to cause tension, if anything feels too much, if it feels painful, you can't relax in your pose if your breath is cutting off. And that takes away from my ability to deepen my stretches. I'm not able to come into quite as deep of a pose if my body is tightening. This is where the fascia is not going to open up. I'm not going to get the best stretches for the ligaments and the tendons. So, and by creating more stretching in the ligaments and the tendons, it facilitates the muscles to be able to move around a little bit better. As the fascia opens, everything moves better. And so breathe with your pose. And I like to walk my attention through my body, kind of see, where am I feeling tightness? Where do I feel maybe more of a pull? If you're feeling numbness in your arms or your hips, you can adjust your pose. If you're able to deepen your pose, allow for that. And so your left arm might even hold you up a little bit. As long as the rest of your body is relaxed, it's okay. But try to relax as deeply as you can, so you can almost fall asleep in a lot of these poses. And so we're going to allow you to stay here for about 1 more minute. Again, if there's any pose you want to hold for a little bit longer, feel free to pause the tape. It is okay to hold. Some of these poses can be held 15, 20 minutes for the most effectiveness. Again, always coming slowly out of your poses. And about 4 more good deep breaths. start to turn your body back over towards the right. I want you to move your whole body over. So you're going to twist, and I'm going to twist my body over. So I'm going to start to keep this right knee where it is and rotate so your shoulders come and they're facing up. We're going to find just a little bit of a twist. Keep the hip where it is. If you want, you can extend the leg out a little bit more. So this is where I might be able to straighten this leg. If you want, you can grab onto the back of the foot, and this is a pose called cat pulling its own tail. So you might be able to take your fingers around your right leg, so left hand grabbing onto the right foot, right hand would be grabbing onto the left, and I'm trying to rotate the ribs. So as I turn, you'll notice it's the rib cage that's moving. Not really the hips are moving a lot. I'm gonna bring this leg up a little bit, and if you don't need the block for everything, you can keep the block down. So this is where sometimes the block under the shin helps, and if your block isn't high enough, remember, you have levels. So you can come up almost as high as you need to, and you can stack your blocks. So the blocks can be really handy here. Try to face your chest up and allow your hip to kind of rebound from our previous pose. So this is a great rebounding stretch, but it's also another deep stretch. So it releases some of the tension, but it keeps the stretching moving in a different direction. And so we're kind of working all the areas of the hip today. The inside, the outside, closest to the tailbone, and really around the whole hip joint. Our hips are very mobile, but if one area of its rotation is off, the whole hip is off. So allowing the whole flexibility of the hip to be more mobile. And maybe deepen your exhales, feeling your ribs press down a little bit deeper into your mat. And going through your body, noticing, where do I feel this part of the stretch? If you have really tight quadriceps, you might feel this in the left thigh, the left front of your thigh towards the whole quad. You might feel it in the left hip flexor. If you have a lot of tension in the glute, you might feel this along the whole outside of the right glute. If your ribs are tight, you're gonna feel it around the rib cage. So there isn't a wrong where I feel it. Sometimes students will ask me, where am I supposed to feel this? My question is, where do you feel it? That's where you're supposed to feel it. And so staying here for about 30 more seconds. Then we're going to come into that second side. And just allowing your body to relax. Feeling your shoulders get a little heavier into the mat. Now, when you come out of this pose, bring both knees so one knee stacks over the other. I'm going to take the blocks out of the way. I'm going to come back onto my back and just bring your feet right underneath. And allow your spine to rebound here for a moment. Grab onto your knees, roll a little side to side. I'm going to turn back onto my belly. And this time, I'm going to bring the left knee out. So I'm going to come into that half frog. Now remember, your leg is out at 90 degrees. So my leg is right out at about 90 degrees. I'm going to take my blocks over to the left side because I used them on the right. Whatever you did on the one side is normally what you'll do on the other side. So I've got my legs set up. I'm going to place the whole section of my ribs down and take your forehead to your arms. And just rest here for a moment. Notice that this is enough. Now you might need your knee on the floor. If you did that on the right, that's probably what you're going to do on the left. And if you did that little twist, see if you can bring the left arm under. I'm going to press the back of the shoulder down. So the palm is going to face up. I'm going to use my little pillow here and allow for this twist. Now I used the right hand. I lifted the ribs a little bit and I gave myself a little bit of a push, and then I tried to relax the right arm. I'm not pushing the whole time. I'm using it as basically like a table leg. So it's holding, but I'm not pushing. Now if that causes you pain, you can bring that arm in any direction. You can use the elbow at a slant from the shoulder, and so that's going to give you the leverage to hold the pose as well. My floor is slippery, so my elbow kind of slides, so this was a little bit more comfortable. And I'm just going to relax the right arm and allow for this little bit of a twist. And then just close your eyes, relax. You might be able to take that left arm and even grab onto the back of the shoulder. That's going to give you a little bit more of a twist. So it's almost like you're giving yourself a hug. Notice how the left leg, left groin feels. Kind of feel that the body is facing down towards the mat. So this is going to help us when we come into our full frog. In full frog, our both legs are out. And it can be pretty intense. We're not in this one as long, but it kind of preps you for where your frog is going to be, what's going on with your hips. And everyone's frog is going to vary from not only person to person, but day to day. You know, if you're a woman that is still having her menstrual cycle, you know, frog can vary considerably just with our hormone levels and how things are changing in our bodies. And so allowing yourself to stay here for another minute, you might experience some numbness in the shoulder. And if you do, just adjust the pose as you need to. And just relax. And just being still in the mind and the body. Allowing yourself to feel these poses. And noticing maybe a little how this changes from side to side. Which hip you might be feeling this more in. And even a little bit of a pull or a tugging on the lower back. And this is again that connection when we sit. You know, how the spine and the hips start to develop this pattern of pulling. And that's the fascia. As we shorten everything and then we elongate it by standing and moving around, it changes. But if we spend more time sitting, than we do moving, our body has a little bit more of a quality of being in a position of sitting. You know, it takes that shape a little bit more than the lengthier shape. And so this allows us to change our shape a little, change the container. And maybe being more mindful when we are sitting around to give ourselves more moments of mobility, trying to move every hour, trying to get up, move around, stretch. And we're gonna release, so I'm gonna take the left arm down first. I'm gonna start to pull the left arm through. And I'm gonna allow myself to start to turn a little bit over towards that left leg. Now, as I turn, I'm gonna rotate and I'm gonna bring myself into that cat pulling its tail. So from here, I'm gonna get my head comfortable, because being comfortable in your yin practice, I think, is the most important part. It allows us to stretch a little deeper. Now I'm gonna move my ribs first. So I'm gonna start to lift the ribs and move the ribs. Then I can start to take the blocks out a little bit and maybe extend and grab onto the foot. Now this block can be underneath the shin, it can be under the thigh, and if I can, I'm gonna grab onto the back leg as well. And so I have basically the shape of what looks like a cat pulling its own tail. And I love the fact that this is what the name of this pose is called in Yin. Yin tried to make the names softer. You know, it is connecting with real things rather than Sanskrit or the formal language of everything, trying to make it a little bit more gentle. And so allowing your body to relax here and breathe. We're going to stay here for about 1 more minute. And just allowing both shoulders to come down. Allowing the body to fully let go. And just being present, how your body feels on this side. If anything is tugging or pulling, noticing if you're feeling it on the inside of the thigh on the right leg, or if you're feeling it in the glute on the left leg. And sometimes the shoulders, if you can rotate and open the ribs a little more, maybe even look to the opposite direction. So you might look over your left shoulder. If any of that is too much, if you notice you're tightening your muscles here, try to relax everything that you can as though you're about to fall asleep. And there's some poses I realize that there's no way I could fall asleep in this pose, but you want to relax or get into a mental state of being that relaxed, being that okay with where you are. And finding your breath, breathing in and out of your body, noticing with every inhale breath what the body is doing, how it's changing. With every exhale, see if you can relax. Relax any muscles that might be inadvertently tightening. Relax your thoughts about your practice, what you're doing, what you're not doing. And staying here for just a few more breaths. Now when you're ready, you're going to bring those knees together and start to move yourself so your feet come onto the mat. Bring your knees so the knees face up towards the ceiling and rebound your back. Grab onto your knees, roll side to side. If you need to roll a few times up and down on your spine, let's do that. We're going to come up into a seated pose. So I want you to come into a seated pose, and we're going to need our blanket, we're going to need our blocks, and you might need your bolsters. So we're going to grab these supplies. All right, so we're going to come into our frog pose. Now your frog pose, I'm going to face my blanket or my mat long way so you can see kind of what we would be doing with our frog. With your frog, you don't want to hinge forward too much. So this is where I'm going to take my blanket out and I'm going to make sure that my blanket is all the way at the front of my mat. This is going to protect my knees, make my knees feel a little bit better. So I'm going to take my knees out as wide as I can. Now, if frog is not available for you, you can take the big toes together and you can do what's called a wide child's pose. Wherever you are, I want you to think about sitting back. So I don't want to be all the way out here. I want to sit the bottom back. Now, this is where the bolster can come in handy. For some of you, you're going to need to kind of prop up on the bolster and be like this. This might be enough. Your frog, your feet are going to be out here. So your toes would be facing out. If that's not available to you today, that's okay. I like to start off in wide child's pose and transition into frog. I like to use the blocks, and I take the blocks right at, so the breasts are here, and the block would be right at that top portion of the ribs, right where your sternum is. So I'm going to set the block up so it's on my sternum. And this is going to give me the support I need, and I'm going to kind of push my weight back. So my weight is going to be back towards my tailbone. Now I can use this other block for my forehead. And this is a hard pose to relax in. It is very opening for the hips. And because it is so opening, it's doing a lot of pulling on the inner groin. If you have a really tight inner groin, if you have even tight outer hips, frog can be a little upsetting. So you want to find a part of your pose where it is not painful, where I'm supported enough to where I feel like if I had to stay here 10 minutes, I could. So if you're making faces, if you're gritting your teeth, if you're digging your fingernails into your hands, you're in the wrong pose. So try to find your frog is a restful pose. And how we start that is allow your back to relax. And once your back is able to relax, and even let your belly hang down. So think about the belly has a weight to it, and allow your belly to actually hang down a little bit as though it has some weight. And your belly is going to pull your hips down a little bit. And it's going to create a natural pull on your hips. If anything becomes too much, the heels can come a little closer together, and you can even take a more narrow child's pose. If you're able to take your knees out a little bit, you can just push your fingers right to the inside of your thigh and kind of nudge your knees over towards the side. I try to relax here. I don't have hips that go all the way down, so frog is challenging, but it's also one of the poses that really changed my yoga practice. It made things that were a struggle, not so much a struggle. Even some of my arm balances, it made less of a struggle, because when your body is more mobile, it's not hard to move in and out of your poses, but when you have less mobility, less flexibility, then it's really hard to have a strong power practice. So for my power junkies, your yin practice will really start to change your power practice. And so allow yourself to relax and just unwind the body. Allow the hips to open up. Allow the toes to relax. And see with every exhale if you can feel that natural pull down, that natural weight down. And notice if you're holding tension anywhere in your body. Turn your head any direction that's comfortable. And just guide your attention through your body. Again, maybe recognizing or noticing some of the places that feel good. Which ones feel open, rather than focusing our attention on which one feel closed? Where do I not feel discomfort? And maybe even starting to expand your awareness in that area and noticing that sometimes whatever I focus my attention to, it starts to expand. So if I focus my attention on creating space in the body, I create more space. I'm kind of picturing maybe a small bit of space in a tight area and focusing on the space that's in that area and how much more space is created as you focus your awareness there. Kind of breathing into the sections that you feel something is happening, something is opening. And the less density I have in my body, the less resistance I have. The less density, the less toxicity I have, the more mobility. Mobility is not just my ability to move in and out of poses and be flexible. It's the ability for your body internally to find good flow. That the circulation of your body is very open. And as your circulation is good, everything is good. Your body oxygenates better. Your white blood cells produce more. Your blood is rich and vital and strong. But density kind of blocks all of that. It's kind of like fog in a big city. It doesn't have anywhere to escape. So it becomes more smoggy. And pollution gets worse because it doesn't have anywhere to escape. And so it's not that we're never going to pollute, but if I have a more open internal environment, the pollutions move in and out of my body with more ease. And so this isn't just a practice for fitness, it's an opportunity to live a healthier life by creating more internal space thereby allowing things to move freer. Even the things I don't want, they can move a little freer out of my body. So we're here for about 30 more seconds. If you've noticed the pose has changed and you might be able to come down a little bit more, you're gonna hold this only for 30 seconds. So it might be something that's a little bit more intense. Sometimes we refer to this as the second edge of the pose. It's never a place of pain, but it's a place that I can reside a little longer. With a little bit more intensity because I'm not there as long. And so allowing yourself to relax, just one more big deep breath. Now to come out of this pose, I'm going to bring the toes together first. And I'm going to slowly start to push myself up. And as I do that, I'm going to slide one leg over. Then I'm going to slide the other leg over. Really important to come out of this pose very slowly. Bring your knees together and allow yourself to rebound by just slowly coming down. If you have anything going on with the hip, know that you're going to feel really uncomfortable coming out of this, and go as slow as possible. The reason we come out of things are slow is we give the body a chance to re-energize, re-find itself, and we run less of a risk of creating any injury or tension. Slow is always a really good and very safe place to go. And so when you're ready, coming up into your tabletop and just bring your knees down, take a moment, round your back, pressing up. On your inhale, gazing forward, tailbone back. Exhale, round, pressing up. And inhale, gazing forward. One more time. Exhale, pressing up. And inhale. All right, we are almost done. So I'm going to bring the legs forward, shake your legs out just a little bit. Move your legs a little side to side. So last poses, I'm going to come into pigeon pose. So your pigeon, you might use a blanket, you might use a block. I'm going to show the pigeon from the side. So I'm going to turn my mat one more time. And so we're going to come into a right-sided pigeon. I like to start in a table. So when I start in a table, I'm going to walk my hands to the left, and I'm going to bring that right leg forward. Now I'm going to walk my right foot over towards the left side. And I'm going to allow the right knee to come towards the right corner. Now if you have a really tight hips, you're going to want to try to see, can I move around? And my objective is to try to get both parts of my bottom level. Not necessarily both down on the ground, but I want my right side and my left side to be equal. I want them to be level on the ground. So if one hip is up higher than the other, we're going to build that hip up. So if one of your hips is up here, you can take a block or a pillow. But if you can, I want you to just play here for a moment. Move a little side to side. Take your left toes, curl your left toes, and see if you can walk your left leg back a little bit. Uncurl your toes and try to push your left hip down. We're going to walk the hands to the right corner of your mat. And turn your body and try to push your left hip down. And then walk yourself back over, this time towards the left side, and kind of pull your left hip down. And then bring yourself into the center, lift your heart a little bit, and push your belly button down first. Now, if you look back and your bottom is level, you can stay here. If your right butt cheek is up a little higher and you want to put a block or a blanket underneath that, you can do that. If you have knee issues going on, you can lower onto your back and just take your right ankle over your left knee, and you can come into reclining pigeon. So we're gonna lower down, and again, I'm pulling with the belly button. So pull your belly button forward and then bring your chest down. Now, if you're somebody that is able to align your shin with the front of your mat, you can grab onto that leg and pull it forward. But again, if you lean all the way over to your side, don't want to necessarily be there. Again, this is a pose where we want to hold it for a little bit longer, but we want to hold it in a relaxed state. So if I'm really uncomfortable, then I need to adjust that. Now, if you want something deeper, you can take your left arm through, and you're going to bring your left arm and face your palm up. And you might kind of pull your left shoulder over towards the right side. Keep pushing your left hip down. If you want to build up your head, you can do that. And you might take your right hand, grab onto the foot behind you. Sometimes I like to use my left hand and just keep my right shoulder open. You can also grab the back foot, but again, if you're not able to relax in this pose, find a pose that works best for you. This one is actually relaxing for me. For a lot of people, this one is relaxing. A lot of people like traditional pigeon where their body is facing forward. So I'm showing all these variations to just help you find one that fits your body. We're going to stay here for 2.5 minutes. And so allow your right hip to just relax and kind of see and feel, where am I feeling this the most? You might be feeling it in your upper body, your lower back. You could be feeling it even in your left leg. There isn't necessarily a wrong. I'm feeling this one a lot in my right hip and the outside of my right leg. And when you're here, just finding your breath, allow yourself to go inside yourself. Notice where you're struggling, where you're efforting, where you're fidgeting. And being present, being aware of the space that I'm creating. Kind of the new person you're creating every time you do this. You know, we have the ability to recreate ourselves all the time. And sometimes my students will tell me, oh, I have this problem, this problem, this problem, and this is why I can't do this, and this. But I mean, we focus a lot on what our problems are, what we can't do, but really where we should be focusing is, what can I do with where I am today? And as I do more of that, as I make that a practice, as I make that a habit, I find that what I couldn't do becomes less and less, because I'm not focusing on my limitations. I'm focusing on my strengths. Now, my limitations might be there, but if I don't focus on them, they might not always be there. But if I focus on my limitations being limitations, they'll be there longer. When we fight for our limitations, we get to keep them. Anything we combat for, anything we fight for, that is our fuel. That is our ammunition. That is our food. So what are we digesting? What are we eating? What are we fighting for? What is the cause? Do I want to stay with the same problems that maybe I've had for years? Even if somebody has told me, you'll never do this, that's an opinion. So it doesn't mean that opinion is right. It doesn't mean it's wrong, but if I don't focus on how to be more, I'll never be more. So to slowly come out, again, always slowly transition the body, lifting yourself up, finding a little curious swan, and kind of pressing up. Now leaning into your right hip and grabbing onto the left leg, swinging that around. And noticing that the right leg feels very tight, stiff, but new. It's kind of like opening something that's new in a box, and you have to peel off the film and the layers, and you're getting something that, like a new shirt, maybe a new pair of shoes. Sometimes those new things are a little stiff. So moving it around and getting rid of the stiffness. So we're going to do this on the other side. I'm just going to come to this side. And when you're ready, you're just rounding your back for a moment, pushing the spine up, finding a little cat pose. And then bringing the chest into neutral, taking the hands over towards the left side and bringing the left foot forward. And I'm going to walk the left foot over towards the right side. And I'm going to bring the left knee towards that front left corner or edge of my mat. Curling the back right toes, pull the right hip back. Now again, I'm trying to push the right hip down, so I'm going to uncurl the toes. I've lengthened the leg. I'm going to walk the hands over to the right side, and I'm going to pull the right hip down. And then I'm going to walk the hands to the left, and I'm going to turn and gaze over my shoulder. See if you can gaze towards your back right heel and push your right hip down. So kind of push your energy into the right side. Now as you come back to the center, as you're in this curious swan, pull your heart forward, pull your belly button forward. And if you can, lead with your belly button. So I'm leading with the belly button, then the ribs, then the chest comes down. If you have a deeper practice and you want to grab on to that left leg, pull it forward so the shin aligns with the front, you can. It doesn't have to. And mine doesn't. Most people's don't. So if you have a deeper practice, do that. But the only wrong in any of these poses in your yin pose is the one that's hurting you. So you might stay here. If you have any knee issues going on, coming onto your back, and this time bring your left ankle over your right knee and just pulling onto the right leg. We're gonna rotate and maybe take that right palm so it's facing up and the shoulder is facing down. I'm gonna walk the shoulder a little bit more over towards the left side and then kind of push the ribs a little bit more towards the right. This might be too much. If it is, pull the shoulder back towards the right. You might bring that left arm around, see if you can find the foot, the thigh, maybe just the back. And if this hurts the shoulder, don't do it. Finding that weight, maybe using the right hand and pressing the shoulder up. This is comfortable for me, and it gives me a little bit more rotation into the lower back and the left hip. So as I open the shoulder, it goes all the way down to the lower back, and it's really opening my left hip. Now, everyone's going to feel this very differently. And so where you're going to feel this is going to be totally different than where I'm going to feel it. And making sure that you're feeling it in some place that feels good for you. That might be grabbing onto the back of the leg. That is distracting, and I'm not really able to relax as much. But for some people where they have more open quadriceps, it's not distracting. And so finding the pose that's not distracting for you. And then again, going into how it feels unique on this side of your body. You know, how does this feel different? Notice if there's any new areas that you feel this. You know, sometimes I'll feel things in my ankles, my toes, my knees, areas that aren't necessarily getting the benefit of the stretch. So how do I modify to make certain that I'm feeling the benefit? And the benefit is where I feel a stretch, not pain. Where I feel intensity, but I'm not holding my breath. I'm not counting. If I lengthened the time here, could I stay here longer? Could I live here longer? And just focusing on your breath, seeing if your inhale can carry you, and the exhale maybe deepens the pose just a little bit. And the nice thing about both pigeons is that we're opening the hip and the lower back on both of these poses. So both hips are getting the benefit, even just on one side, one more than the other. But you're getting benefits throughout your whole body in most of these poses. And just allowing to let go. Feel the freedom that you can feel in your body. And again, drawing your awareness to your strengths, not your limitations. Maybe recognizing how often we go there. You know, more of us are good at telling the bad things in our life than telling the good. Sharing the agonies and the struggles rather than the joys. And what we need to do is get really strong in what can I do? How do I make my life great? Not focusing on what I can't do, almost like I'm joining a club of all the other people that can't do that. We want less clubs like that in our life. You know, if I have an injury, if I have knee pain, I don't want to join the, oh, she has knee pain too club. I have a bad knee club. Getting out of the habit of naming our body parts as good or bad. Sometimes we don't realize that when we label our body parts take on that identity. It would be like you saying, oh, this is my good child, this is my bad child, and giving them that label. And after a while, they start to believe that label, and your body is no different. Your body believes what your mind tells it. So if you tell your body, you're not strong, you have weak hips, you're not flexible, your body believes that. And it takes on that persona, that strength, that identity. And so changing our language can be the first step in changing our life. You know, starting to tell yourself, I am flexible, I am strong, I've got great knees, I have a strong right knee. My right knee is as strong as my left knee, or my left knee is as strong as my right knee.
but starting to encourage the parts of your body you want to see do better, not discourage those things. Our body is smart, but it still believes what we tell it. So tell it good things, tell it lovely things. You're beautiful, you're smart, you're strong, you heal, you're healthy. You metabolize amazingly. You lose weight with ease. You grow hair beautifully. You age with grace. Your cells restructure, reproduce, and strengthen every single night. Start getting good at how we talk to ourselves. So when you are ready, slowly coming out of your pose, start to walk your hands in a little bit. It's okay here to make little faces. Breathe, lift, heart comes up. And then lean your hip over towards the left side, grabbing on to the right leg this time. Bring the legs forward. Shaking them out, leaning away from the stretch, moving your feet side to side, maybe taking those feet out to the edges of your mat and just start to move your knees a little side to side. When you're ready, taking your legs forward, lifting your heart up, arms up. Exhale, fold and round. Move your shoulder blades a little forward and back. On your inhale, slowly coming up one more time, reach and extend the arms. And then exhale, fold. Round your back on this, stretching out all through the lower back. Allowing yourself to open. And then when you're ready, just kind of curling down. If you want to grab onto your blanket for your head, we're going to come into our Savasana. So slowly start to lower down. And allowing your legs to come out to any degree that they want. Allowing the arms to come out. And feeling yourself in this position. Noticing how the body might feel very different than where it started. Your skin, your bones, everything might feel a little tingly. You might feel these little bits of energy move around your body. And then as you lay here, I want you to spend just a little bit of time. Go through all of your body parts, from the head down to your toes, with gratitude and praise. Stay here as long as you can. Be generous with your compliments to your body. Your loving and encouraging words. And start to notice, if you do this on a regular, daily practice, how much stronger your body becomes. Thank you so much for practicing and playing with me. Namaste.